Hi, and welcome to Beer Grilled Skinny, a mother-daughter collaboration embracing the random. So today, we're going to talk about my encounters with Keanu Reeves and how I just want everyone to know that this is not a story to be told if you have ego. So I want a pat on the back for that.
I'll give you a pat on the back. It's just part of the delightful experience we've had here on planet Earth.
Yeah, so I first saw Keanu Reeves in the movie Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and he didn't really strike me as anything, but then he did this movie called Point Break, and in one of the first scenes, so he's like an FBI agent, for those of you who haven't seen the movie. And one of the first scenes is him firing at this target. And at the end of it, he whips around looking all sexy and chewing gum. And at that moment, I was like, I'm going to marry this guy. And so, this is where it gets random. Remember the prophets we knew?
I do remember the prophets we knew who could tell us the will of God.
Disclaimer. I am not knocking the Christian church with this story.
No,
I'm knocking the shysters that come along and take advantage of people's beliefs. And that's what we ran into. So we ended up going...
That's such a good way to put it.
Well, thank you.
I feel more comfortable saying, God told me.
I mean, we won't even get into our own words from God.
Yeah.
But I got the idea that he might be the man I should marry. I did not marry him, by the way. And I absolutely adore the man I'm married to. But in spite of that, I had some very interesting coincidences and experiences that y'all might find amusing. So we moved out to L.A. and...
Can we tell them why we moved out to L.A.?
Well, if you want to.
We moved out to L.A. because God told us to. And we got verification from a prophet that we were definitely on the right track.
Because we were going to save Hollywood.
Yes.
And we did a brilliant job. Don't you all love Hollywood now? So, one of the other prophets, I'm going way out of order, but okay. So my best friend and I, at the age of 19, went to L.A. on a vacation to go see this one specific prophet that we had met to see if we were going to marry the men that we thought we were going to marry. So I thought I was going to marry Keanu Reeves, and she thought she was going to marry Brendan Fraser. Thus, we ended up spending several years going down this path because this prophet agreed with us. Yes, you're going to marry them. Now, I don't actually know what his motivation was because it's not like he charged us money for this, unlike a psychic. He just said, yeah, you're right. You heard from God. This is who you're going to marry. I will just tell the part of the story where I met Keanu. When I was in 1992, I was writing a script. And somehow, during my prayers, I got the idea that once I finished this script, I was going to meet him, and then it was all going to take off. So, on the day I finished the script, I kid you not, my mom and I went to the New Pavilions, which is a grocery store in Burbank, California. And we're walking around the store, and who shows up? That's right, Keanu Reeves. And Mom just looks at me, and I just run off. So I'll let you tell them what you did after I say what I did. So I followed him around the grocery store, as you do when you're following a celebrity. And he goes, and while he's checking out, in this particular store they had a card section near the cash registers, and I was hiding in the card section. And I was like peeking through and watching him. And then we go outside because he finished, and I follow him outside. And in the meantime, what were you doing?
I was running around the grocery store, up and down the aisles, trying to see where you were, see what was going on.
And putting a bunch of cans
into
the cart.
Yes. And by the
Without
way,
even thinking about I'm going to shop.
one of the neat things about this new grocery store was that they had a little electronic thing on all of the buggies, and if you wanted to find something, you could check on that little thing and find out where it was.
And this is pre-internet, so that's why it was neat.
It was neat. I often thought that might be why he came over there to that grocery store.
I think he just came over because it was a new grocery store and he was bored.
It
but
could be.
Anyhow, I followed him outside. Now, this was 1992. And back in 1992, none of the talk show hosts knew how to pronounce his name. He kept getting introduced as Keanu Reeves. So my brilliant introduction to him was, "Hi, it's so nice to meet you. I really love your work. I know how to pronounce your name." And he laughed and said, "Do you now? How do you pronounce my name?" And so I pronounced it. Now, as someone who now has a very difficult to pronounce name, I'm Lorianne Sharavanya. And he's Keanu Reeves, not Keanu Reeves. And I'm not Lorraine Saravanja. Just saying. Anyhow, he was so sweet, and we talked, and one of the things that really stood out to me about this, and I can't prove it, y'all can believe me or not believe me, but at this point in his career, he was concerned that he wasn't doing anything truly worthwhile that would add to the world. And my response to him was, you add to the world just by being entertaining.
And who would have thought that there really is a good value to that kind of thing?
There is. You're storytelling,
Mm-hmm.
and that's meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to do anything else. Just do what you do as an actor and be entertaining. And this is the part you won't believe, but I don't care. They had this magazine back then called Premiere Magazine, and literally a couple months later, he does an interview, and people were asking him, "Why do you do what you do?" And he's like, "I just want to be entertaining." And I'm like, "Score!" And I thought he was going to call. He did not call.
We thought that, somewhere maybe we were missing the direction. There was a time when he was working on Speed on Hollywood Boulevard.
Let me pause you there. For those of you who do not know the movie Speed, that was a movie he did with Sandra Bullock, and it was about a bus that if it slowed down past 50 miles an hour, it would explode. Crazy little movie, but it was fun. And how did you find... You were the one that went to Hollywood Boulevard.
Yeah, I was down there. I knew they were going to film
Why
it.
were you down there?
Because I like to see how things are done.
But how did you know?
Because you can find out stuff in the
I know,
news.
but you called me. I actually took time off from work to
you
come down there and meet him again for the second time, for those of you who are paying attention.
Help God out here. So I was down there, and I saw him on the street. I wanted to see him on the street because I was going to help God out to get this thing going.
This is before I got there.
Yeah. And so you came, lickety-split, I say. I still don't know how we maneuvered the traffic as well as we did. But
no, it's not that, back then at least, it wasn't that bad going from the Valley to Hollywood.
So, she and I were on one side of the street, and he was on the other side of the street.
So I crossed the street.
And I'm watching this unfold in front of me.
Yes, he was at an ATM, and so I was trying to be all clever. Now, y'all have to understand, I felt like if this was really God's will, God needed to make it happen, because I had always had this feeling in my life. I had never been pursued by anyone. I pursued a lot of boyfriends or men.
Well, for one thing, you wouldn't recognize, if you were being pursued, if a guy just dropped down right in front of you and said, "I am pursuing you."
I think I would if they said that, but they don't. So I was never good at flirting, and I didn't want it to be a thing like that. So I just wanted him to come after me. So I went. to the other side of the street. And so I had my purse, and I opened it, and I pretended like I was searching through it. And this is the part you witnessed.
Yes.
When he finished at the ATM.
Yes, you pretended you were searching through it, and you dropped it, and it dumped right into the street. So you're down trying to gather your stuff up, and he is just sitting there. He's just standing there watching you. And I thought, he's going to go help her pick her stuff up. And he watched and he watched. I mean, it was significant. And then he turned and went the other way. And I'm
well,
like,
he did
God?
have a girlfriend at the time.
What
And nobody, the prophet didn't call him up and say,
yeah.
you're going to marry this girl. So he was interested, but also wary. And
Yeah.
that's perfectly natural.
And I'm going to say wise.
I don't know if he was wise. He missed out, man.
Yeah, but then I wouldn't have this fabulous son-in-law in my life.
I
so-
agree. I got the
Yeah,
right
you
man.
got the
There's
right
no
one,
doubt
huh?
about that. But
Mhm.
this was quite the fantasy. That's the funny thing about Hollywood. I mean, I can't remember her full name, but her first name was Kelly, and she had a poster of John Travolta on her bedroom wall when she
okay.
was a teenager, and she decided he was the one she was going to marry, and that's exactly what happened. And they were married until she sadly passed away from breast cancer. So it's not like it can't happen.
Yeah.
It can definitely happen. The third experience I had with Keanu Reeves, who I'm sure if he ever listens to this, he must be really bored, but he won't know, he was in this band called Dog Star. And I went to listen to it at a bar on Santa Monica Boulevard. And then I was there with a friend who was she worked for Hugh Hefner. No, not Hugh Hefner. Who was it? Larry Flint.
Oh, okay.
That's who she worked for.
Yeah.
And it got her into all the places.
Okay.
There was no porn involved
that?
in my little adventure.
Oh, I guess you can't call her name, though. Okay, so doesn't matter.
Well, no, her name was Katrina.
Okay.
And she got me upstairs into the party. But again, I was refusing to initiate. Keanu saw me again that day, too. Looked at me, went the other way. And I'm like, dude, you're going to have to make the first move. Well, he didn't. And that's fine. The other part of this story, back to my best friend, who was told she was going to marry Brendan Fraser. So, now let's get back to, let me refresh your memories. In 1992, I was writing a script, and I had prayed, and I had believed that when I finished this script, that's the day I would meet Keanu. And that is, in fact, the day I met Keanu. So, just
Yeah.
random coincidence. And then that made my best friend go, well, I'm moving out there because I want to find my Brendan Fraser. And this is how we did it. We are the world's worst stalkers. Let me tell you right now. We decided we would drive around Hollywood and wait for God to lead us to them. Just like, we're just going to drive around. Hey, God, when are we going to meet him? We're driving out here. Can you guide us? No, he could not. God has better things to do. But she ended up meeting Brendan as well. He did a little play called Four Dogs and a Bone. So dog is a theme here. We got Dog Star, Four Dogs and a Bone, and we went to see it, and she got to meet him.
Yeah, that girl was persistent. She got up out of her seat and went up on the stage and went to somebody. I don't know what she said to them, but pretty soon he came out to meet her. Mm-hmm. Sweet man.
Oh, he is. But he was also with someone. So both of us went after men based on what a prophet said.
Yeah.
That men that were already with someone else.
And the moral of this story is...
just meet someone the normal way.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be unique. Obviously, the way I met my husband was unique. And Also, the way my best friend ended up meeting her husband was unique because
Yeah.
she was doing beauty pageant stuff down at this Grand Prix race thing in South Los Angeles, or maybe it was even Long Beach. And she met the winner of the race, and they've been married
Yes, they
25
have been.
years.
Yeah.
And then I met my husband on a science forum. And I've often said, I think I got you mixed up. I think I got Keanu mixed up with you. Because I knew what I wanted. I wanted someone tall, dark, and handsome. That's what I got. And I wanted someone with a brain. And I know for a long time they didn't think Keanu had a brain. It was such a shame because he does. He's quite philosophical and
Yeah.
intelligent and a great actor. And I wanted someone funny. And I got all of those things.
I know. And you know what else?
What?
You got someone that can cook.
Yeah, I know. I've never checked to see if Keanu can cook. That's probably why he wasn't the right one for me.
Yeah.
But it was a fun experience. I mean, it wasn't actually fun. It's
No,
an
it was
interesting
fun.
experience. Well,
It wasn't fun for
telling
you.
it is funny, but yeah, it wasn't that
It wasn't fun for
me.
you, but for me, I'm like, oh, look at this. God's will unfolded
I don't
right in
think
front
you
of me.
actually remember what happened in pavilions, but I do. You just went around and started dumping cans. You didn't even look at what the cans were. Because here, maybe I wasn't clear about this. And if I was and I'm repeating myself, well, y'all can just suck it up. I had said, I'm going to meet him. And actually, Mom and I had a fight on our way to the pavilions. We were not getting along. But we went in and we're walking around getting stuff. And then I see him. And I had made her go with me to the pavilions because I thought this was the day. And there he was walking around. And she almost fell down. I'm glad the cart was holding her up. And I just bolted. I just started following him.
Yeah, I can feel the weakness in my knees right here.
Because it definitely seemed like God was doing
It did.
something. What a strange
Yeah.
coincidence.
Yeah,
And he was such a sweetheart, by the way.
I know. He was.
And the conversation I had with the whole, I know how to pronounce your name, and then after that I look over and see that he has a dog, and I have 2 cats, and I'm like, you have a dog? Because he doesn't know I'm planning out our life together. I gave him my number. Well, that didn't work out. Oh, well. But he was really sweet. I didn't scare him. He actually seemed quite pleased that I knew how to pronounce his name because back then, again, this was back in the days of Arsenio Hall, and I'll never forget when he introduced him as Keanu Reeves, and I thought, I want to reach through that television and strangle you because it's not that hard to pronounce that name. Hawaiian name, by the way.
Okay.
He was born in Hawaii. I mean, he's Canadian, but he was born in
Yeah.
Hawaii. And
Yeah, I think we could tell you a lot about how God directed us once we got to Hollywood. And that'll be for another day because I'll just give you a little juicy here. I walked around the Warner Brothers building 7 times praying that God would drop the walls of Jericho. For those of you who know the scriptures, for those of you who don't, you could go look that up in the Bible.
she meant it in a spiritual sense, not a literal sense.
True, because there were no walls around that building.
And one of these days we can tell you all about how Fabio came to our church.
Yeah.
But that's for another day. And I just thought this was a fun story. My friend and I driving around Hollywood, hoping we just run into these guys we thought we were going to marry, is absolutely hilarious to me. And I hope y'all got a good laugh out of it. Thank you so much for tuning in. If any of you had celebrity adventures of your own that you'd like to share, I would love to read them in the comments.
Yes. Or any advice that you have. Now at this late date, I have no idea what you would say, but
What do you mean by advice?
of how we could have behaved, how we could have helped God in a different way.
Oh, it just means I needed to make the first move, but I ended up with a man who made the first move,
Oh, yes,
which
you
is
did.
what I always
Yes,
wanted.
yes.
So it worked out in the end.
Yes,
He seems to be with a lovely woman now, and I hope it really works out for him.
I do too. I think it has.
Well, we don't know yet.
I
Time will
know.
tell.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love it if he listened to this and got a laugh out of it,
Yeah.
because it's hilarious. I'm the worst stalker ever.
Yeah.
And that, my friends, is the end of this episode of Beer Grilled Skinny. Tune in again. Again, comment. Also, I didn't feel like I needed to say this, but no one's subscribing. So please subscribe. And again, comment, like, do all the stuff. It's helpful, and I appreciate it. And if you have any questions, let me know. Thank you.
Thank you.
In every moment together, we conquer our fears, with dreams in our hearts and the world in our sight. We're beer grill skinny, ready